Hello, it's Natalia, and I'm coming to you from my friend the banyan tree that I introduced you to in a previous video. I gotta be honest with you, I keep talking about how many subscribers I have because I've been in this 30 number subscriber bracket, and I notice that, like one time I made a video about a smoothie and I lost a viewer. I was like, what? Okay, who knows? Another time I made a video about my tropical life and I lost a viewer, and I'm like, God, what are people thinking? Is this offensive? You never know what's on somebody's mind. You never know why a person chooses to unsubscribe. And since at this point I have 34 subscribers, of course I'm counting. If I had like thousands, if people were unsubscribing, it probably wouldn't show as much. But since I'm really new, I notice, and I'm still learning how to not be upset about it. It's just interesting to see, like, you make a positive video or a happy video and someone doesn't like it. And, I just have to just accept that. That's just part of the YouTube world. And the reason I'm saying that is because today's subject matter is a different one, a little bit more hardcore, and I can't be worried about whether people like me or not. Can't be worried about anything, really. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. And it's a touchy subject. It really is. I hear things, I see things, and I go, wow, I really feel like I need to speak up. This topic is, I still hear people using words and terminology from slavery, particularly for African American slavery. And in this video, I'm going to come from a point of view of African American, because I know that around the world people use the term black, but I just don't really like that word. I'm going to just use African American coming from an American point of view. So this is the thing. There's this phrase that I've been hearing as of more recently called, women of color, which could pretty much mean anybody who's not completely fair-skinned with straight hair. Could go for Latino women as well as African American women. The thing is that African Americans in particular, I notice that when people who are not African American hear the term women of color, this doesn't go for everybody, but I've heard it come from some. People say women of color, but then that word is so close to colored that sometimes people just slip and say colored. And colored is a word from the time of slavery, from the 1700s, 1800s. God, they were still using it in the 50s. And it was a very derogatory term. The word colored comes from a time of slavery. And it's a very taboo word. It's a very unkind word as well. It's a very derogatory word. So when people hear the term women of color and they slip or don't know and just say colored, I've heard people say that, and I've had to tell them, hey, that's a slave word. That comes from slavery, and it's really unkind, and it's pretty derogatory. And they didn't know what they were saying, so they really appreciated me expressing that. They don't want to go around continuing saying that. They might get beat up or something, or cussed out or something. And where I'm coming from with that is the term colored coming from the times of slavery. There's other terms from the times of slavery that are still used to this day, like the infamous N-word. I'm not going to say it, but I'll spell it. N-I-G-G-E-R. Never fine. I mean, really, people still use it to this day, and they think it's hip, they think it's cool. A lot of people get it from rap or hip-hop culture, and it's like, yeah, African American people use this word towards themselves. People with African in their bloodline still use this word towards themselves. And so people who are not African-derived or African-American hear this, and they think that it's cool, or it's hip, or it's fun, or it's playful, or it's really alive, or it's really happening, or it's a part of hip-hop culture, it's part of rap culture, and then they use that word. They use it towards themselves, or they use it towards other Africans or African-Americans, and it's just perpetuating, I feel, more ignorance. Because think about it. If some slave master in the 1800s, early 1900s was saying this to put down a group of people, and it came from a very hateful, ignorant place, and it still has this root of not feeling good when it's heard. Don't you think that when that word is used today, it's still, I mean, God, it came from a it came from a derogatory place, so even when you use this word today, it still has a derogatory punch to it. And the subconscious mind doesn't sleep. If you say that word, subconsciously you're really putting yourself down. Subconsciously you're putting each other down. And it's not hip and it's not cool, okay? And then there's the word nappy. I'm just going to use these 3 examples. You know, that word came out in the late 1700s. I don't know if it was 1784 or what. But that word came out from, you know, the times of slavery when, you know, Africans were being oppressed, brought to America from Africa, and they were being degraded for their skin color, for their, you know, facial features, for their hair texture, for the way that they spoke. And it's like, how is using terms and words from slavery positive? People use the word nappy, and it's a word from slavery. It's a term from slavery. And subconsciously, I really still feel like it's putting a person down. You know, the kinder term is probably tangled, you know, tangled hair. It's like people use that word nappy so openly, so playfully, so jokingly. African Americans sometimes use that term towards other African Americans in a really, you know, sassy way, or a mean way, or just calling another person out on their hair in some way. But when you use these words towards each other and yourself, subconsciously, I really still feel like it's a put down. You know? I'll use those 3 examples. And I seriously do not believe in embracing these words to not let them, like, get to you or bother you. Because guess what? They came from some ignorant slave master from way back in the 17, 18, early 1900s who was putting people down, who obviously didn't know how to respect or regard other people and their culture or their feelings. And these slave masters from back in the day made up all these awful terms, and people are believing them, and it's like, do you really, really think that those words from then are going to really make things better today? So, can you find some divine equivalents, some words that can express how you feel that aren't slave words? Can we please use other words instead? Words that are kinder? Because, yeah, the subconscious doesn't sleep when you use these negative terms towards yourself, even in a slang way, or a hip way, or a modern way, or in a way that's connected with rap or hip-hop. It doesn't matter. It came from some ignorant slave master, these terms and words. So I just really suggest you obliterate them and let them go out of your vocabulary. That's my personal feeling, and that's what I'm bringing to you, because I hear these things, and people find it acceptable. Even Africans and African Americans find it acceptable towards themselves to say these things, and I would like to just speak up and just say, please, respect yourselves and speak kindly of yourselves. There, I said it. And I'm not going to get freaked out if someone unsubscribes, okay? Because guess what? We need some fresh perspectives here to uplift ourselves. And I would like to just shine a light on this so people can please open their minds and have different perspectives and thoughts. Thank you. Big aloha from the banyan tree and me.